All right, Nick and Chris, give me a couple more takeaways from this first game. I mean, I know it's preseason, but I got a couple of things I want to talk about. You know, we've got the Marcus Morris factor, what he did, you know, getting shots up as soon as he got on the floor. He shoots. He likes to shoot.
Marcus Morris has never in his life, from the time he was a kid, seen a shot that he doesn't like. And it's awesome. It's commendable to a point. And, I mean, I think that might happen from BWA quite a bit. These guys are limited minutes this year. They're going to want to get their points up. So we might be seeing a lot of that.
How are you going to spread the wealth and not have them step all over each other?
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about the starting lineup. I think that those guys will be selfless.
Right.
The bench guys, some of them are playing for contracts.
Yeah.
So they're playing for touches. They're playing for playing time, right? They want more playing time. How are they all going to share the wealth?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
they're all chuckers.
It's the BWA, Nick.
You
can't say you have attitude if you're not chucking up shots, if you're not being aggressive.
Right.
And that's what you want from your second unit.
Yeah, and you called Marcus Morris Ice Cube you told him to his face.
Original.
So he's the guy who's got to be pulling up the most shots, and he was already in game one in preseason form. So it's interesting. But BWA seems to be.
I mean, he's got to back up that talk. Tristan Thompson's watching. You know, he's got to make sure he delivers.
Don't even
go back on Snapchat or whatever he was on. Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
All right. What about three-point shooting?
Three-pointers, that's where I'm going next. I mean,
let's get into that.
Chucking up threes, we've seen it year after year under Brad Stevens. I think this is our team. So
thank you.
I mean, whether you like it or not, I'm a fan of the old school basketball, not chucking up threes,
Nick,
but it is what it is.
Horn, but that's exactly what I was saying after Game 7.
You invented that.
When
you invented that style
When Jimmy
of ball.
Toscano, and I'll let Jimmy come in
Jimmy
later
T.
on, he'll defend himself, but Jimmy Toscano was like, oh, they took too many shots, they took too many threes in that Game 7. What were they thinking? That's what got them to Game 7 against the Cavs.
Jimmy's not even here to defend
identity.
himself.
Well,
yeah, you're taking out Jimmy's not even here.
Listen, I'm using him as an example. Jimmy,
please make an example out of him.
I know you're going to get clapped back the next time you're on front of a camera, but as an example, look, that's just part of their identity. And
it has to be with the shooters they have, especially now with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward back. It has to be part of their identity. Whether you like it or not, they're going to be shooting a lot of threes, and it showed already in Game 1.
Yeah, I've come to the realization this is basketball today. This is Brad Stevens basketball. As long as the Celtics win, are competitive, chuck up the threes. Now, I have a question for you guys, because I watched it all week long out of Brighton, out of Boston Landing, you guys covering training camp, BWA. Is this team, especially the bench unit, a little bit too confident?
I don't think that's possible with a bench unit. I get they are pretty cocky, and I think they should be because they have no right to not make the NBA Finals, in my opinion. But I think
they haven't yet.
But I think they haven't yet. But I think to have that edge as a bench unit is important because a lot of these other benches that come into games, they're a little sluggish at first. Obviously, they're coming off the bench. They haven't been playing. So if they come in with that edge right off the bat and punch other benches in the mouth, I think that's important. So I think that swagger is ultimately going to help them.
But Josue, I mean, don't you think that before they played a game, they're out here going out in every media availability and saying everybody else in the Eastern Conference is listening to them say they're the gem of the East, they're the crown of the East.
But Nick, it's natural. I mean, these guys were minutes away from the NBA Finals. I mean,
but they didn't get there
over and over. They didn't get there, but those guys had vital roles in that run. I mean,
and a lot of those guys
Morris,
could be
Marcus
starters.
Smart, and they could be starters in a lot of other teams. So I like the confidence. I mean, and in terms of the three-point shooting, like you said, Nick, as long as they're winning. But what about when they're not winning? Like,
that's when you're going to hear me
you're going to hate
screaming.
But that's part of their identity.
It is who they are,
right? I don't think you can have it both ways. I feel like if it's part of your identity, that's who you are. Not to use the cliche, you live and die by the three.
Chuck Barkley.
But it's a big part of what they do and how they win games.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it comes down to that sacrifice, too. It's all nice now, like you guys were saying, about the BWA mentality. But when they start getting their minutes cut in February and they want to start scoring more points because it's a contract year, then do you want to make the sacrifice?
Here's the one
That's
thing.
The interesting thing.
The other, but the alternate fact to that is alternate fact. Wait a minute, I sound really bad. Alternative fact. But the alternate fact, the other factor in that is Brad Stevens has to rest Gordon. He has to rest Kyrie, and he really has to conserve Al. So that's going to allow these the BWA guys to get in that starting lineup and get more reps during the doldrums. What you're talking about?
Yeah, completely.
March.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Actually, it kind of reminds me of the always Celtics.
Sure.
Doc Rivers used to rest those guys, and in the long run, it paid off. Let us know what you think, of course, as always, in the comment section. YouTube, hit us up. CLNS Media, Joseph Pavone here. Chris Grenham, he is Nick Joso.